Hey, what's going on, folks? This your boy New Jack coming at you live. This video here is for all my female subscribers that wanted me to do a women's bracket. I got y'all emails, so here it is. The 2015 women's bracket. I'm gonna tell y'all who's gonna make it to the Sweet 16 and who's going to advance all the way to the Final Four, to the national championship game. These are the teams that I have advancing to the Sweet 16. Let's start with the Albany region. I have UConn, Texas, Louisville, and Kentucky. Let's look at the Spokane region. I have Maryland, Duke, Oregon State, and Tennessee. Now let's look at the Oklahoma City region. I have Notre Dame, Stanford, Iowa, and Baylor. And in the Greensboro region, I have South Carolina, Ohio State, Texas A&M, and Florida State. Now let's look at the matchups. Starting with the Albany region. UConn versus Texas. I have UConn winning this game. Louisville versus Kentucky. This is going to be a really good game. But I have Kentucky defeating Louisville. Now let's look at the Spokane region. Maryland versus Duke. I have Maryland winning this game. Oregon State versus Tennessee. I have Tennessee defeating Oregon State. Now let's go to the Oklahoma City region. Notre Dame versus Stanford. Now this is going to be a really good game. But I have Notre Dame defeating Stanford. Iowa versus Baylor. I have Baylor winning this game. Now let's go to the Greensboro region. South Carolina versus Ohio State. Another good matchup. But I have the Lady Gamecocks defeating Ohio State. And Texas A&M versus Florida State. I have Texas A&M defeating Florida State. Moving on to the Lead 8. The Albany region championship game. UConn versus Kentucky. Another good matchup. Both of these teams have some good shooters. But toward the end, I have UConn winning this game. So I have UConn advancing to the Final Four. The Spokane region championship game. Maryland versus Tennessee. Another good matchup. Two physical teams squaring off. But toward the end, I have Tennessee defeating Maryland. So I have Tennessee advancing to the Final Four. The Oklahoma City region championship game. Notre Dame versus Baylor. A good matchup. Both of these teams have some good shooters. And both of these teams have good inside games. But toward the end, I'm going to have to say that Notre Dame will win this game. So I have Notre Dame advancing to the Final Four. The Greensboro Region Championship game. The South Carolina Lady Gamecocks versus Texas A&M. Another good matchup. Both of these teams have big inside players, especially South Carolina. South Carolina has a really good post game in the inside. They have some strong physical players on their team. Really big and athletic. So in this game, I'm going to have to pick South Carolina. So I have the South Carolina Lady Gamecocks advancing to the Final Four. And these are the teams that I have out of the women's bracket advancing all the way to the Final Four. My Final Four matchups look like this. UConn versus Tennessee, and Notre Dame versus South Carolina. The first women's Final Four game. UConn versus Tennessee. Two rivals squaring off. This is going to be a really good game. But toward the end, I'm going to have to go with UConn. I believe UConn is too physical and they have better shooters than Tennessee. So I have UConn advancing to the national championship game. And the second women's Final Four game. South Carolina versus Notre Dame. Another good matchup. This game could go either way. But toward the end, I have the South Carolina Lady Gamecocks defeating Notre Dame. So I have South Carolina advancing to the national championship game against UConn. We have reached the national championship game. South Carolina versus UConn. Now y'all remember that these two teams met earlier this year. And UConn blew out South Carolina. But it was at their home court. They played at UConn. But this is for the national championship. And who do I have winning this game? Yes, I have the South Carolina Lady Gamecocks defeating UConn. The Lady Gamecocks get their revenge. I said this earlier. If South Carolina sees UConn in this year's tournament again, if they see UConn again, South Carolina is going to defeat UConn. So I have South Carolina getting their revenge against UConn to win the national championship. I hope y'all enjoyed this. There's more videos coming at y'all soon, so y'all stay tuned. But in the meantime, y'all take care and make it hard.